teacher go to school?
And here's your...
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink guy? Is this what pink guy is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Well, g'day, patrons, and welcome to our overflow, our very last for the year.
That's right.
22nd, and I can hear reindeer hooves on my roof.
I thought you just said reindeer rooting, and I really liked it. And I was disappointed when you said roof.
It's going to be a difficult job, isn't it? You know, with all those
what, rooting?
Yeah.
I can't see any problem with it.
All those cloven hooves and what have you.
Well, the problem is that when you have a few drinks, your boner doesn't work. And Rudolph is a famous pisshead. So if you're trying to root Rudolph, expect a disappointment, my friends, because that dick ain't getting up.
Okay. Enough of the Christmas spirit stuff. Look, we're going to kick off today in our overflow episode for our much beloved patrons with just an update on the Wieambilla situation. It's a murky business, and police are sort of drip feeding info out. I think they're sort of getting a bit of info drip feeded in too. But we've learnt today that there had been a warrant issued for the arrest of Nathaniel Train after he ran a roadblock of a kind, and we'll explain that in a minute.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so before the four officers attended the train property, they reportedly ran checks through their system, as we were unsure of, and identified that Nathaniel Train had been involved in an incident on December 17th, 2021, to which there was an outstanding warrant, which we'd sort of, we alluded to before. And then police have been called to the New South Wales border after Nathaniel Train had driven his vehicle through an E-gate while attempting to cross into Queensland in December 2021. Yeah,
look, we mentioned this in the main episode. You did,
yes.
In fact, Joel, about firearms precisely. He was
dumping
guns, and we mentioned that in the main episode, which has just been released. This will make cookers really, really just crazy, because the idea that we have closed borders, I mean, through the pandemic we certainly did, of course, but in a normal set of circumstances, that the borders are being monitored for movement across. So, I'm going to have to ask, what's an E-gate?
And that's what you're getting at.
I had to look this up, but it is something that the councils will deploy, particularly in Queensland, in the event of floods.
Okay.
So where roads are impassable, they will establish an E-gate, and that will allow thoroughfare from locals only, but not through certain roads which are closed for flooding or can only be partially crossed or that sort of thing. And so an E-gate is established, which allows people who live in the area to move about as best they can across the border and back, while travellers from other parts of the world are not permitted. It's just for local use only. So he tried to cross the border and triggered an E-gate notice, which in turn created the warrant for his arrest.
And that's all it was for, not for the fact that he was clearly there to create some sort of mad siege with cops. He forgot the fact that the borders are now patrolled by fucking robots.
Well, it's
and
a
cameras.
little bit more sinister than that, because as you say, he had 4 guns.
Yeah, I believe it was something like that.
And he dumped 2.
Yeah.
So the police have been chasing him up, saying, "Yes, you triggered the E-gate, but we also need to speak to you about these 2 guns that you just left."
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And they were handed in, and one of the things we didn't go into, and I forgot to sort of mention in the main episode, is that apparently witnesses to him dumping the guns were fruit pickers from the islands. From Pacific Islands. I'm not sure which Pacific Island it was that was mentioned. But yeah, with the E-gate thing, just a general relevant thing, that is hitting me so hard right now, because we're about to do an episode on climate lockdowns. And it's all about this idea of these like small neighborhoods, and you can't leave them because Dan Andrews will kill you if you do, and the laser will shoot you in the face and you'll have an LRAD up your ass. But like the general idea is that to sort of mitigate climate change effect, they're going to put people into high density areas where you can
God.
only walk to
That's
things.
why when I saw the term e-gate come up,
Exactly.
I went, "Oh my God, here we go."
So you're right.
But that's
this
what
is
it's
going to be getting
there
cookers
for.
going.
It's
Yeah.
to allow locals access to and from the border, across the border, in roads that that are affected by natural disasters, especially floods. And if we remember December of 2021, particularly northern southern Queensland was flooding at the time.
Yeah.
Brisbane,
Yeah,
of course, flooded. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anywho,
it's
so-
really interesting you brought that up, though. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit because I reckon if I put e-gate into Telegram, I'm going to get some really funny shit.
Yeah, you probably will.
Yeah.
A Google search doesn't offer you much.
Dude,
but it is something deployed.
bro. You've got to DuckDuckGo that shit.
Yeah, I know, but there are enough references to it. I mean, local councils use e-gates to allow thoroughfare from their locals, people who are residents of that shire, to move across borders so they can move seamlessly around the place, while other travellers are going to have to use more open routes, highways.
That's exactly what's happening in Oxford. This is the thing they're having the whole tizzy about. I won't go too far into it because, we're doing the episode soon. That's exactly what they're fucking whinging about, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But back to Nathaniel, really.
So anyway, back to Wieambilla. And so this was an incident a year ago, right, where Nathaniel Train had triggered police contact while crossing the New South Wales Queensland border, where police did attend and discovered Nathaniel Train was carrying 2 firearms, both registered in his name, and 2 more firearms were later discovered that he reportedly ditched in a creek. This is what we said in the main episode.
Yeah.
So those are the things. That's the reason that the 4 police officers entered the property.
Which is crazy.
They had called in on the place. They had called in. It's just been I'll keep going with this. And police had attended the Wieambilla property where the murders would take place on multiple occasions, including once in August. And they've left cards. They've gone there, and there's just been no one apparently there.
Yeah, they're all in ghillie suits in the fucking hills.
Yeah, according to a police spokesperson, she said police intended to have a discussion with Nathaniel about that day and why he had left 2 firearms behind.
Mm-hmm.
And they got there and they were just leaving cards and so forth. So they are talking about a fairly routine matter that would have led to, and possibly led to, Nathaniel Train being charged with firearms offences.
Yeah.
That's as serious as it was, and you could just see how baked Train, the trains have become about this, with the police leaving their cards in the door. And we might remember Gareth Train's sort of mock boast about police entering his property and being sort of warned that if they're not prepared to shoot, to leave. And he said they're all cowards, so they all left.
Yeah, exactly. I think he said something about them whistling Dixie and all this sort of stuff. I mean, it's not funny. You're a fucking asshole.
In other news, the US Soli prepper, pastor Arizonian, referred to in media only as Don. I mean, why can't he be named, Joel? Why
Do
can't
we
he be
know
named?
his name?
I've gone looking for him, but I can't find him. And as you said before we started recording, there is a bigwig Don pastor there too, with a big evangelical Christian TV following.
Yeah.
And I just think it's clearly not him, but his surname is Don too. And we know that Don, the prepper, we know that is the name that the trains called him. So presumably his name too. But it's the way it is that you could easily have a mistaken identity and a serious legal problem the way this is going.
Yeah. I mean, look, when it comes down to it, I would say that generally speaking, the people who cause problems are probably not on the side that are going to be looking for this individual. But, this guy, he's got like this sort of, 15 seconds of fame here by being an enabler to a shooting. But in the US, 2 cops being shot is just a day that ends in Y. And a neighbor being shot, oh, well, I mean, that's just television. Like, it's, I can't imagine it's really on the radar over there.